Oh my god, has it been a great year from gaming. 2016 has just so many awesome games came out this year, and I played a lot of them, guys. Without any ado, I'm going to get into my top 10 favorite games from this year. Now, these are all games that I personally played, and I played a lot of games this year. Not all the games I played made it on this list, and I certainly didn't play as many games as I wanted to this year, but these are the 10 that I feel were the best. I'm Ravel, this is a Geek Out of Place, and these are my top 10 favorite games of the year! Number 10. So here's a game series. This is a sequel reboot of a game series that I never played until this one, and I'm glad I didn't play any of them because this one really I had a lot of fun with. I'm talking about Hitman.
Welcome to a world of assassination. No target is safe.
So here's an interesting game. It's a stealth action game, AAA title that they released by level, basically a month at a time over the course of the year. And it started off getting kind of meh reviews, but as the game went on and people realized how much fun you can have, but within the 1 month of a time, and you can only play the one level, you can replay that level in so many different ways, and they continue to give you things to do within that time before the next one came out, and it was really fun. It really tried my patience a lot. The Hitman games rely a lot on basically nothing but stealth and blending in. If you're not up for the game, I can see how it's not that enjoyable, but if you have the patience for it, you can get so creative with your costumes and the ways to kill people and the little tips the game gives you, revealing opportunities. It was a lot of fun. It's the lowest on my list because I had to fight a lot of urges to gun everyone down and blow things up, but once I got past that and slowed myself down a bit, I found a lot of enjoyment in this game. Hitman, 2016, no subtitles. My number 10 pick. Number 9. Ratchet and Clank for the PS4 that came out this year. So this year we saw the trend of a lot of old series getting rebooted, and that trend is continuing on next year, but for this year we got a lot of good games out of it, and Ratchet and Clank was certainly one of them. Now we're beyond the time of mascot platformers, but Ratchet and Clank really harkens back to that time when you can play in a fun, cartoony world and shooting and jumping on platforms. And it's a really good game. Now let's not talk about the movie that came out about this, but the game itself was full of humor, full of bright colors, and really took advantage of the PS4's graphical capabilities to make a gorgeous looking cartoony world with dozens of enemies on the screen and hundreds of little bolts flying at you, and the weapons themselves are cool and creative. It was a blast from the past of the old platformers of 12, 15 years ago. And it was made by the same guys who started the series. They knocked it out of the park with Ratchet and Clank. So definitely one of the best games that came out this year. Number 8. Now we're going from a cartoony, kid-friendly platformer to a game that is basically made to kick you in the nuts over and over and over and over and over. And I'm of course talking about Dark Souls 3. Now, I'm sure, like many people, I have a love-hate relationship with this game. It's one of those games where I'll rage, I'll break controllers. I want to break a controller, I want to throw it out the window. I'm getting stuck in the same spot for hours, fighting the same boss over and over and over again, seeing you died dozens of times in a playthrough. But the game itself is an amazing work of art. It's an amazing end to a fantastic series that's filled to the brim with history and lore. I think part of the reason I appreciate this game series so much is the community that's built around it to try to unravel that story. Makes me want to play the game more and find that stuff for myself. Find that gear. Find those locations. Interact with the NPCs and understand the stories that From Software wanted to tell with this game, and it's a great swan song. It's a great end that wraps the whole Soul series, at least the 3 main Soul series, together. I don't recommend it for everyone. This might be the best one to pick up. It is probably the most forgiving, but at the same time, it is the most beautiful of the Souls games. So Dark Souls 3, I'd recommend it. Awesome game for this year. Number 7. Now, number 7 is a game that I was a little unsure of putting on this list. I didn't start playing it till very recently. It was my Christmas gift to myself. I'm talking about Final Fantasy 15, but boy, does it deserve to be on this list.
I fear I have left too much unsaid.
For the graphics alone, for the just immense beauty of the game alone, it is worth it. But the game also really lets you form a bond with the main characters, Prince Noctis and his group of friends traveling together. That in itself, those two things make the game worth it. Now, story, not so much, but I've never played any Final Fantasy game before this, and changing from a turn-based RPG style to a real-time combat style in this RPG is, I think, a good move to introduce new fans to the game, and I am definitely on. I mean, I've always known about the Final Fantasy games, I just never played them, and this game really makes me appreciate the whole thing better and want to go back and play the older ones. And I don't have too much to say because I haven't gotten that far into it, but it definitely deserves its place here on my favorite games from this year. And number 6. Hyper Light Drifter is my number 6 choice, and if you guys have kept up with my channel, you know I did a Let's Play series of that earlier this year. I'm a little saddened that, yes, it's an indie game, so of course it's not going to get as much publicity as the bigger AAA titles, but this one I think really deserves it. It is a gorgeous game with an art style that is a throwback to the 16-bit games of the Super Nintendo generation, but it takes those mechanics, it modernizes it while keeping true to that gameplay style and that time. In Hyper Light Drifter, there's a story there, there's history, but it's not told to you at all, I guess. There is absolutely no dialogue, just combat and music and gorgeous graphics. And the game gets progressively harder really fast, but it's a very fulfilling game. Definitely worth it. And there's a personal story behind the game that you guys should look into. It is not just one of the best games that came out this year, but one of my personal favorites of all time. Number 5. Even though it's not one of my favorite games, it is a downright amazing game that came out this year. So I'm talking about Inside, made by the guys who did Limbo a couple years ago. The simplistic gameplay and side-scrolling action really belies the story that this game tells. And it's one of those games that could start getting kind of slow, but then all of a sudden, from left field, hits you with just a mind-blowing twist. And you'll see it if you read reviews about it, and I'm kind of in the same boat. The more you talk about it, the more you spoil, and this is not a game that deserves to be spoiled, but this is definitely a game you have to experience and play through yourself to not only appreciate it, but just be wowed by it. So I'm not going to say any more about it, so please, go play it, go pick it up, go buy it. It's an indie game, it's not that expensive. Xbox, PlayStation, PC, go play it, guys. It deserves its place on this list for a reason, and I can't recommend it enough. Number 4. Pokemon Sun and Pokemon Moon. This game blew up. This is the best-selling Pokemon game in the series, and that's due in no small part to Pokemon Go that came out earlier this year that blew up like crazy, then kind of died, but that momentum was enough to make Pokemon Moon sell like hotcakes. And the thing is, guys, Pokemon Sun and Moon is one of the best Pokemon games that came out. Pokemon games are all the same, you do the same things, but this game, it's set in the Alola region, which is inspired by Hawaii, so the whole thing has this super chill, lighthearted atmosphere. There's so much heart to it, there's so much random bits of humor in it that Pokemon games don't really take themselves seriously, but this one is just, it's like you're on vacation, a very welcome vacation from this year, man. My favorite part of the game is the enemy team, Team Skull. Now, typically, they're always the enemy team is like some menacing bully type force, but these guys are just pathetic losers. They can't do anything right, and they're always doing them some like dance moves and rapping their threats to you, and they're just dorks, and I freaking love them. So that's what I mean. It just has heart. The Pokemon games are fantastic games, but this one has just a relaxed feel that was very much welcome this year. Alright, we're getting down to the real nitty-gritty. Top 3 games of this year. Number 3, Titanfall 2. Titanfall 2, yeah! Battlefield 1 was squarely going to go on this list somewhere. This is hard to convey. It is the best feeling shooter I've played in a long time. The parkour movement is tight. The abilities you earn when playing the game on top of the parkour moves add a whole nother layer. The shooting itself is fast and fun. And it's also satisfying when your Titan falls and you're just wrecking shop in the giant mech of your own. What really pushes this game over the edge, the story mode. Now, Respawn Entertainment learned their lessons, a lot of lessons, from the first game, which is just it was just a multiplayer shooter game. It was an incomplete game, and they learned every hard lesson they had to make a dedicated single player story and make it fun. The levels made you take full advantage of every ability you had. And then the back and forth between you and the Titan that you grow to bond with really made a very solid relationship. But everything they did in that single player story, they did right, and they did it well. And number 2, if you guys know me, if you guys have kept up with my channel, you know how big of a fan I am of this game. And you might be a little surprised that it's not number 1. And I'm talking about Overwatch. Love it or hate it, Overwatch was a powerhouse. Blizzard's first new IP in 11 years, and they knocked it out of the park. There is so much I can say about Overwatch, but to get right down to it, first of all, the characters. Blizzard did such a fantastic job with making the characters relatable and lovable and unique, all with their own backstory and history and relationships with the other characters in the game, that all of it happens outside of the game itself. None of this pertains to the actual gameplay. Blizzard gave us things to latch onto, characters to relate to, which just added fire to the fandom of this game. Not to mention the game itself is fun on so many levels. It is so easy for someone who's unfamiliar with multiplayer shooters to pick up and get good at fast, and it rewards you at a very steady pace until you start getting experienced. And then once you get high enough level and once you start ranking up in the competitive side of the game itself changes. It's all built into this wonderful, fun, lighthearted, fast-paced, colorful shooter. I mean, I don't know what else to say. I can say so much about this game. I love playing it. I'll keep playing it for years. Gamers like me who don't have a regular online squad they play with, I can still have a good time in a quick play match or in any of the arcade modes. But if you have a crew you roll with, you can wreck shop just coordinating efforts and bouncing off each other. Who would have thought a multiplayer shooter would make this huge of an impact on the gaming world today? I'm gushing. I'm really just gushing over this game. Before I get into my number 1 pick, I do want to mention some runners-up. Because, again, there were a lot of games I played this year, and some of them were really good, just not as good as these top 10. Battlefield 1. Good game. Definitely deserves a mention up here. Another runner-up was Far Cry Primal. It's still a Far Cry game to the core, just without the shooter aspect, and they replaced it with spears and bows and arrows and no guns. You get a giant saber-toothed tiger to play with, but you can pet him. Another one on my honorable mention list is Quantum Break. The shooter part's fun, the time puzzles are fun, and the TV show was fun. But they did not mesh well together at all. Quantum Break leaves you wanting more. My last honorable mention is a game that I only picked up and started playing a couple days ago, but it blew my mind right away. I'm talking about Thumper for the PlayStation. kind of hard to describe. I will definitely put a Let's Play of it up here because I love this game instantly. Here it is, guys. On to my number one pick for the best game of 2016. I'm joking. Don't go away. I'm joking. I'm joking. I was just trolling you guys. I'm joking. It is not No Man's Sky. No, my number one game for 2016 is Doom. Oh my god, what to say about Doom? So another one of many franchise reboots that came out this year, and all things considered, they did this one perfectly. ID Software, the guys who made Doom to begin with, took everything that the original Doom game started, revolutionized the first-person shooter game way back in the 90s. They took everything that made the original shooters great and modernized it. Oh my god, amazing graphics. Yeah, the graphics are kind of muddy and a lot of red and a lot of blood. It is a force of nature. You feel like a force of nature. Like in any other shooter game, you can just hang back and wait for your health to refill and snipe off a few enemies. No, if you want health, you have to charge in there and rip a demon in half to get health. And it's just small things that keep you going, that keep you engaged, that keep you moving fast and on to the next thing and on to the next thing. It's just an amazing game to play and a breath of fresh air this year. I don't know what else to say about Doom. It is fantastic. It is a ballet of blood and mayhem and shooting things. Doom is my favorite game that came out this year, and definitely one of my favorites of all time. Yeah, that's my list, guys. 2016, awesome year for gaming. Like I said, there were plenty of games that I played and didn't put on this list. There were so many games I didn't get a chance to play. What did you guys play this year? What was your favorite game of the year? Let me know in the comments. Give this video a like. I'm Ravel. This was a Geek Out of Place, and I am looking forward to 2017 because I have so many big things planned for you guys. I cannot wait. I cannot wait for this year to be over. Let's start 2017 with a bang. Let's make 2017 the best year ever. I'm here for you guys. I'm Ravel. This was a Geek Out of Place. Subscribe if you're new here. In the meantime, though, guys, Happy New Year, and I'll catch you all next time.